All right, let's kick this Friday edition of the SportsMax Zone off with the Jamaica Premier League. Five-time champions Arnett Gardens maintained their push for a top two finish and an automatic semi-final berth after they convincingly beat bottom of the table Humber Lion by 5-1 at the Anthony Spaulding Sports Complex in St Andrew in the final game of match week 21 on Thursday night. Three other fixtures were contested on the day as well. Let's have a look at those results. Cavalier and Tivoli Gardens ending 0-0. Defending champions Cavalier, and that was the first match of the doubleheader. Molynes United, they got the better. Well, Molynes United and Portmore United ended 0-0 as well. And down in St Anna, Drexel, Mount Pleasant, the league leaders beating Vere United by 4-1. Another win for Mount Pleasant, their 12th consecutive, another defeat for Vere United. So following Thursday's results, this is how the table is shaping up. Mount Pleasant at the top with 52 points. They are 8 clear of Montego Bay United, who have 44. Arnett Gardens on 42. Portmore United on 35. Cavalier, the defending champions, on 34. And Waterhouse on 33. The teams in the playoff positions at this stage. Then Tivoli Gardens in 7th place, 6 points of a playoff spot and 27. Racing United, they've won 3 in a row now. They're on 25 points, 8 points off a playoff spot. Molynes, they've been doing well in recent weeks, 22 points. Chapperton Maroons on 20. Dunbeholden 19. Vere United just outside the relegation zone on 17 points, with Harbourview on 16 and Humber Lion on 14. The teams in the relegation zone at this stage. Now, the Jamaica Premier League continues on Sunday with the start of match week 22. 5 fixtures are down to be contested. Chapperton versus Racing, Dunbeholden versus Montego Bay United, Harbourview at home against Mount Pleasant, Portmore United against Humber Lion, and Waterhouse will play Molynes. All right, so this will be SportsMax's doubleheader on Sunday. Portmore United against Humber Lion starting at 3 p.m. for Eastern Caribbean time on SportsMax, SportsMax Plus, and you can also catch it on the Scene app. And Waterhouse will play Molynes United starting at 5:30 p.m., 6:30 ECT, and again on SportsMax, SportsMax Plus, and on the Scene app as well. So yeah, an impressive performance from Arnett Gardens last night, Lance and Mariah, to get that 5-1 win over Humber Lion. But it's the type of performance that you would expect from a team trying to finish in the top two, trying to get automatic qualification to the playoff round, especially when you're taking on a side that has been struggling significantly in the Jamaica Premier League and find themselves in the relegation zone.
Yeah, Humber Lions, a third defeat in a row, of course, at the bottom of the table on 14 points. So I think if it's anything, going into that match, previously Arnett would have felt like, okay, definitely going to get these points. You know, it's a matter of how much goals we're going to win this by. But again, we've seen in this competition that you can't really underestimate any team. It's just like in the EPL and La Liga and all those big matches where sometimes, because you know you're going up against a consistent and a big team, you know, you come out all guns firing. But of course, Humber Lion, they stayed true to their poor form, and Arnett Gardens continued with their top form, and they keep going, picking up all the points necessary. Arnett is Ricardo's team, and he's hoping that they can do well this season. Well, win.
Well, they are doing well.
Yeah. I think win, right? You want them to win this season?
Of course, you always want your team to win, but they are doing well. But the thing about it is, and I think we've said this on so many occasions throughout the course of the season, it is a long season as far as this preliminary stage is concerned. There are 39 matches before you get to the playoffs, and of course you want to be in the top two, although sometimes people will say it's not even much of an advantage to be in the top two because you have probably a week or two off where you will not be playing any football.
Not a week, it's 2
2 weeks
or more,
and then the teams who come through the quarterfinal stage, they are match ready and match sharp by the time they are meeting you at the semi-final stage. In fact, the last time Arnett Gardens won the Jamaica Premier League, they actually came out of the quarterfinal stage, finished well down the table.
They were sixth in the regular season. Just made the qualifying,
and managed to come through and win it. And we saw a similar thing with Harbourview a few seasons ago when they beat Dunbeholden in the final. They finished, I think, sixth as well in the regular season and came through to win the Premier League. So it just goes to show finishing in the top two is no guarantee that you'll go on and win the title or even reach a final. But it's important, I think, as a sporting team, as an individual, you want to win and continue to win because it builds confidence. And sometimes people will say, well, you know what, in sports you are due a bad game or you are due bad games and you have the law of averages, but as a performer you don't think like that, or you should not think like that, because you think about perfecting your art and you think about producing the best possible performances you can every time you get the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and they were efficient last night, and Arnett have been efficient all season, and maybe they are pacing themselves to be at their best in the playoffs, because that's when you need to be at your best if you want to win the championship. Having said that, a little bit of sympathy for Humberland, who had some scoring opportunities in the first half and didn't make use of them, and then ended up losing so heavily. Alex Thomas taking over the job from Donovan Ducky. Alex Thomas had coached in Guyana last year. He had coached Slingers FC. The new coach there we just heard today is Jamal Shabazz. And Thomas back in Jamaica now, and he's lost the 2 games for Humberland so far since taking over from Ducky. So a tough start for Humberland, and they're struggling.
Yeah, all right. Dwight Jeremiah is online now. Let's get him in on this conversation. And Dwight, let me just continue the conversation from where Sir Lance just left it off on Donovan Ducky and Humberline, because, yes, Alex Thomas now in charge of the Humberline setup. And I wanted to ask you, when was the last time Donovan Ducky finished a season where he started it?
I can't remember since I have known him as a coach, so it must be before my time. So maybe that question should be directed to Lance. He probably would know him before me. But I saw him yesterday. He was at the Mount Pleasant View game. He seemed to be in good spirit, but I guess he never got the courage. So yeah, it was always going to be brown stew, he said. So yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, that's how it is indeed. And what did you make of the Arnett performance last night?
It's as Mariah said, it's a game you expected them to win. It was good for them because I think the attacking side of their game needed to come to the fore again. I think they were quite good defensively, and I remember asking Xavier if he felt, he said it was a work in progress, that they've done better this season on the defensive end, but it was showing as if it was the attacking side was a consequence of that. But it was good for them, I'm pretty sure. It's something that he feels is in the right way, going in the right way now. He said it was all about working and trying to find the right balance. So I think he's getting closer to that. So it's good to see that he got some goals. And I do myself, Holland, we have a player that has just been transferred to Arnett as well. So hopefully he will help them in that regard. But they showed last night that he's going to have to work hard to get in there. It's a player you know quite well, Ricardo. It's Jamar Skyers.
Oh, I was just about to ask you, Dwight, because I'm starting to get the impression that Holland, your club, is more in the business of selling than you are in the business of buying.
I would say... But I tell you what, we're in the business of developing and moving on. Is
that the same thing as selling?
No, I think selling is going to shortchange the Holland program if you just leave it at that.
Okay.
So it's about moving them on, developing and moving them on. The overhead is less at my level as opposed to getting to the Premier League and moving them on.
Yeah. Well, speaking about moving them on, Dwight, Giovanni Taylor made his debut yesterday, and of course, getting that ball in the back of the net. What did you make of him?
He's a good prospect. Always liked him as a player, And I honestly believe that his future is bright. And it's good when you see them making the transition and at the higher level. You know, so often we see players dominating, you know, at schoolboy level, and then they get to the Premier League and it's a difficult task for them to make that transition. So it's always good when you see them, you know, the like of Devon Davis, Stuart Molynes showing good signs. So, yeah, long may it continue for him.
Yeah, and you know, before you joined the conversation, Lance and Ricardo and I, of course, were discussing Humberline and, you know, how they went about their business this season. Of course, missing many opportunities in front of the goal, so much so that their coach, Alex Thomas, you know, he made that comment because they had a lot of opportunities. It's not as if the opportunities did not present themselves. It's just that the team didn't capitalize on them. A quick comment on their performance yesterday?
Well, you know, the scoreline, you probably didn't tell the full story based on that. But what I'd say is that he's moaning over the most difficult thing to do in football, which is to score a goal. Some would say, yeah, creating it is difficult. But, you know, if you watch a football match, I mean, at any level, a lot of chances will be created. And when you look at the stats, you'll see like 15 shots, 10 on target, 1 goal scored. So it's just some things he's going to have to keep working at. I know they said they were looking to shift to youths, and that's going to take some time. Whether or not it's going to be afforded at the Premier League level or they go down to Tier 2 to do that, or the Championship, is another matter. If you ask me, I feel they're ripe for relegation. And if you ask me to pick one, and or pick 2, they'll be first on my list.
Well, and as you say that, their next assignment, which is a commentary game for you on Sunday, Dwight, against Portmore, should be tough. Portmore on a 7-game undefeated run and positioned 4th in the table at the moment and playing reasonably well.
Yeah, not only that, I don't think they've conceded in their last 4 games as well. Portmore, yeah, they drew them, 2 of them, but they haven't conceded, so quite difficult. It will be for Humberline if they're having problems scoring. It's going to be even more difficult against a team that is showing to be very stingy when it comes on to giving up goals. So it's not getting any easier for them at all, not at all.
Yeah,
and I don't suspect it will be on Sunday. But, you know, for Portmore, it's good signs. And maybe that's why it led to one of their players getting called up, their goalkeeper.
Yeah, they may be encouraged, though, by the fact that although they haven't conceded any goals in their last 4 games, Portmore haven't scored any goals in their last 2 games as well. So maybe that's something that they could try to capitalize on.
They're always a positive one, Lance. So I know you're going to give Humberline something to cling on to.
Yeah, all right. And before we move on, Mount Pleasant on a 12-match winning streak and looking pretty solid up front. How do you assess their program for the remainder of the regular season?
It was good. I was invited. I was at the game yesterday. It was quite good. I felt in the first half, Bear came with a plan, and it worked to some extent in that first half. There was 0 press from them. They engaged Mount Pleasant probably about at the base of the center circle in their half, and it worked for them. You know, they were 1-1 at one point, close to the second to half time. They got a goal from a set play, which when I was watching the game, I felt it was the only place they were going to get a goal from. And at halftime, they were 2-1 down. And I felt, you know, in the game, it's just in the second half, once they tried to open up a little bit, Mount Pleasant just took advantage of the space. And from then, it was damage control, and it could have been more.
Okay, so following match week 22, Dwight, the Jamaica Premier League will take a break until the 16th of February, partly to facilitate the 2 international friendlies against Trinidad and Tobago, the Jamaica Reggae Boyz taking them on. On Thursday, the JFF unveiled its 28-man squad for the matches, and it featured 25 players from the Jamaica Premier League. I'm sure, Dwight, that you'd have studied this squad. It was expected that because it was a primarily local-based squad, a lot of the top players in the JPL would be getting an international opportunity here, and several of them on course to making their debuts in international football. Which of the players in this setup exciting you at the moment?
Exciting me? Wow. I don't know. I know they've been doing what they've been doing. I'm quite happy to see Chanel Thomas getting in there. As I said, you know, maybe a week back on this show, that I feel he's really a good player, and can play wide, can play through the middle, can drop deep as well. So he will create a little vacuum for runners through the middle once he gets into midfield. So he's one that jumps out at me immediately. I'm happy that Howell Howe is in there as well, this youngster from Central. I think, doing well and showing good maturity in terms of captaining this Chapelton Maroon team in the JPL as a youngster, entrusted with that responsibility. Obviously, they've seen a lot of leadership qualities in him, and he's doing well in the middle of the park. His only goal of the season was a really lovely one that he scored against Harbourview. So, yeah, it starts me picking those two players are players that I'm quite happy to see in there.
Yeah, and Shanil, he was spoken about by Liz Williams last week on the show about his international prospects, and especially with the injured player Michael Antonio now out. Yeah, there is a general feeling that there's an opportunity for Shanil to show something and put his hand up for the spot.
I mean, like I said on the show the last time too, I think this squad is really an important one in terms of these two games as well, because I feel there has been a lot of arguments, quite rightly so or wrongly so by some persons, depending on how you look at it, that more of our Premier League players should be included in the squads from time to time. But I think these set of players, and when you look at the list, are pretty much, for the large part of it, the players in form doing well in our leagues. So for me, it's for them to make a case on behalf of our leagues that we should look at them more. So yeah, no different for Thomas Shanil. He personally have this opportunity, and as a whole, as a unit, they have an opportunity to make a case for players in the Jamaica Premier League. He's in a rich vein of form now. He just knows where the goal is, and before now, he knows where the space is and how to use it, how to arrive in time. So I agree, it's a really big chance for him. And because of the nature of how he plays and his versatility, I think he has a really good prospect.
Yeah, Dwight, is there anyone not in this 28-man squad that you would like to have seen called up by Coach Steve McLaren and assistant coach Merrin Gordon?
I tell you what, there are two players that I may mention, and one is Shaquille Bradford. I look at the front, the seven that they've picked as strikers, and about 56 goals they've amassed in the local Premier League. If Bradford were to go in that with his 10, then, it would be a lot more. I think Biggs is in there, and I understand the dynamic of him being in there and what he may bring to the table. But, when you look at a Bradford who's leading the scoring chart for Mount Pleasant, who's been in a rich vein of form, who scored yesterday, I feel it's hard on him not being in there at this moment. And I feel he could have gotten in there. And you could look at Biggs and have him in there in place of Biggs, who have 3 goals this season. And even if you say, okay, we didn't want to have a lot of Mount Pleasant players in there, well, you could have said, okay, let's look at Edwards. Yep, he's a touch behind Bradford and has not scored in his last 3 games. Bailey's in there. He's more of a wide player, so I understand him being in there as a wide player. But, Bradford, for me, missed out. And I would have had him in there. Marlon Martin, as a defensive midfielder, I feel, it's hard not having him in there too, because I have him as one of my top CDMs in the country. Anglin is doing well, but when you look at Anglin I'm not saying that Anglin shouldn't be in there, but some are saying, but he's in there as the top D mid. But for Mount Pleasant, it's Makala who more plays at the 6. Anglin plays as an 8. He tends to go forward box to box. He has an eye for goal, to always looking to trouble goalkeepers. So I think Marlon Martin and Bradford are the two that I feel, were hard done to be left out.
Yeah, I'll give you a name because I've seen a few matches with the youngster this season and I've been impressed. I think he has a lot of ability, a great future in front of him. Leger has spoken about him as well. Nikhil Ellis from Racing United. Is it that he is not ready yet for this level? Because I think he's been fabulous as a central midfielder this campaign.
Yeah, I would agree that he's really a bright prospect. To say not ready for this level.
Well, I'm asking.
I wouldn't think so. I asked the question, Ricardo. I'm not asking you this one, but since Ricardo Gardner got into Jamaica's team as a 17-year-old and gone on to be one of our brightest prospects, are you saying to me that we have not produced anything like that or like him? So I think
well,
we have
Whisper,
to be
if you can't Whisper, the
yeah,
most
to some
recent
extent,
example.
but has not been regular in our setup because of his exploits or lack thereof where he's at. But I think Ellis is a bright one, and if he was in there, I wouldn't complain.
Yeah, personally, I would have liked to see him in there because I think he has a lot of potential, and it just might have, for me, it was a great opportunity for the head coach to just work with him, even for the few days that they have, and give the young man some pointers as to how he can improve and so on. But I guess such is life, and we all think differently when it comes on to a number of these things. I see that there are about, 5 Jamaica Premier League players, quickly, Dwight, in the Trinidad and Tobago setup. 4 of them, I think, from Montego Bay United and 1 from Mount Pleasant. The one I was looking forward to from Cavalier, Ovre, not there. I wonder if that means that Ovre is such a shoo-in for the Trinidad and Tobago first team that Dwight York didn't need to see him in these 2 matches. But hey, this could be a real JPL matchup from both teams, really.
I mean, so often you hear international teams or coaches saying, these players know each other so well, so we expect a very tight and intense battle. I suspect it's going to be like that because I think they're going to want to prove against each other. Here, yesterday I saw Kimone Bailey. He got substituted in the first half pretty early, about 20-odd minutes. And I asked him what was it. He said he felt a little twinge in his hamstring, and so he wanted to come out. I'm pretty sure he's going to turn up for the national setup. So I think for him, yesterday it was just precaution, and he wasn't going to miss out on his opportunity to play. So yes, I feel it's going to be a good JPL contest with these Trinidadian and the Jamaicans coming up against each other, knowing each other well, seeing each other week in, week out. It makes for an intense one, and I suspect nothing is going to be left out there on the pitch.
Yeah, Dwight, I'm stealing 1 minute quickly here. I know I said that was the last question, but I have to ask you about Jelmara Calvin. Switching from Antigua and Barbuda, he has played for them at the under-20 level, played 1 senior international for them last year as well. Are you surprised that he has decided to want to play for Jamaica instead of Antigua and Barbuda, the 21-year-old?
I'm surprised somewhat, but I would say I understand, and this speaks volume about the youngster. Maybe he just walks into that Antigua team. So apparently for him, he wants this challenge, but more so too, maybe you look at this youngster and thinks he has a huge amount of confidence to believe that, you know what, even with the setup, and you talk about the international options that Jamaica has, and he feels, you know what, I think I can get into this team, and this is where I want to challenge myself to push to the next level. That arbors well for our national team as well, and the coaches looking at a youngster with that huge confidence. Some say, confidence and arrogance is a thin line. I don't think he has crossed it into arrogance. I'm quite happy to see that, and I think Jamaica can benefit hugely from him. He's a wonderful talent, and he showed it at the CONCACAF level for Cavalier. So, I wish him all the best, but, surprised a little, but pleasantly, I would say.
Yeah, 21 years old, Jelmara Calvin, and maybe his job or his decision was made easier by the fact that the coach himself, Steve McLaren, said, from the first time I saw this youngster, I wanted him in the side, but I was told he plays for another country. So
that was the nut needed.
Yeah, when your national coach says that, that's a hint. Come on over here, come and play for the Reggae Boyz. Dwight, I'm out of time. We're out of time. Have a great weekend, man. I see you somewhere around the track and field or football scene this weekend, hey?
The work never ends. The work never ends. I'll be at Waterhouse calling on Sunday.
Enjoy the football. I'll be watching and listening.
All right, I appreciate it. And continue to give the tips.
All right, Dwight Jeremiah there. Yeah, he'll be on commentary for Sunday's game in the Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League. What was that, Ramrat?
What did he mean by continue to give tips? What tips are you giving?
It's time to go to a break.
I'm confused.